when it involves any of these foreign conflicts and foreign wars. That should be America's role, is peace. But the problem that I laid out is it's a business model. America's government, our federal government's business model, is built on murder. It is built on the blood and the death and the wars of foreign countries and foreign peoples. And what you and I are talking about is this is how they do it. Exactly that vote that went down on Saturday that funded $61 billion to Ukraine, $26 billion to Israel. Remember, $9 billion of that goes to Hamas. And then the rest of it going to Taiwan, saying that they're preventing China from escalating and taking Taiwan. All of this money is actually meant to build up our military industrial complex. And this is a sick and disgusting business model. If we're going to fund American businesses, it should be, and this is going into your conversation today, should be back to like in World War I and World War II. American businesses retooled their manufacturing to become weapons manufacturers and defense contractors. What we should be doing today, Alex, is we should be retooling these defense contractors and these defense manufacturers back to being America First businesses, building our own supplies, our own microchips, our own critical supply chain medications, and much, much more. That's what the American government business model should be. That's what I want it to be. It should not be about funding foreign wars in order to control and dictate basically the world government, because that's what the federal government has become. We're dictating and controlling, really being the globalist one world government. And this is beyond what people are thinking about. Most members in Congress, many of them that voted for it thought they were supporting Israel, but instead they're supporting Hamas at the same time. Talk about bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. That was a curse within that blessing. But they feel obligated under a biblical mandate, as Speaker Johnson was talking about, which was absolutely unbelievable to listen to him talk about, especially, and I think people need to know this, he funded the omnibus bill. Alex, that was his first betrayal, was about a month ago. He funded an omnibus bill that fully funded full-term abortion. That's not what Christians do. Fully funded the trans agenda on children. That's not what Christians do. He fully funded the Department of Justice that has 91 federal indictments against President Trump, and the Department of Justice that's locking up January 6th election protesters every single day. He fully funded the FBI that raided Mar-a-Lago and gave them a brand new building for $200 billion. He fully funded the Green New Deal, the climate agenda that is destroying our American energy industry and our future in reality. He fully funded Joe Biden's deadly open border invasion. He fought for nothing, negotiated for nothing. And he even in that omnibus spent more money than Nancy Pelosi did. That's when, Alex, I introduced the motion to vacate. I think it shocked many people. I think I was ahead and people didn't know all this about Mike Johnson yet. But I really do believe people are people I'm talking to are more angry now than they ever were, maybe even in November of 2020. They're angry on a whole new level because they've seen what we're all living it, what we're going through, and everyone is aware of the future that's coming up. Here's the biggest problem, Alex. Most of my Republican colleagues, everybody in Washington, D.C., all of the political consulting class, they're angry at me. They're saying, oh, we need to wait till after Trump wins the election. Oh, we're going to fix all this stuff next Congress. Alex, I'm not so sure that Trump is going to be able to win the election. This is April. I know the polling looks good, but November's a long ways away. And we already went through a stolen election that in many of these states never changed their election laws. There's also this. They are trying to lock President Trump up. They want to put him in jail for the rest of his life, and they mean it. They are not backing down. So there's no guarantee we're going to win this election. And look at Mike Johnson. He completely betrayed everyone with FISA, reauthorized FISA that spied on hundreds of thousands of Americans. And then he put his thumb on the scale himself and voted against the warrant requirement that he had just 6 months ago had been supportive of and had argued for on Judiciary Committee. But what happened on Saturday? What happened on Saturday where they were all waving the Ukrainian flag on the United States of America House of Representatives floor while they sent nearly $100 billion overseas to fund the foreign wars, fund the military-industrial complex that just is built on dead bodies all over the world. That is something so evil. It's so evil that we cannot allow it. It cannot be allowed to stand.
And Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is our guest on the Alex Jones Show. I want you to elaborate on that. But going back a moment before we get into Ukraine, what you said is so central about Trump a minute ago. You're not doom and gloom. You're being straight with people that they better not be lackadaisical. They better not go out and vote. They better not tell their friends and family and neighbors and strangers not to vote. They better, not stop calling in to talk radio and C-SPAN and going to rallies and supporting President Trump because he is under total attack. And he puts on an air of confidence and strength. That's because he is that. But he's not God, and he's not invincible. And I know a lot of conservatives see the numbers and see how unpopular Biden is, and they just can't believe they would actually steal it again. It's all about demoralizing us. And so people understand there's almost like a Q-ish thing going on where people think Trump's invincible, and he's not. We need to fight 110% in this football game, or we're going to lose it. Just because we think we're 7 points ahead right now with a whole nother quarter left, we could lose this thing, ladies and gentlemen, and God forbid Trump doesn't win. Can you imagine what they're going to do? They've said it. They are literally going to come after the Trump supporters and the people that are seen as the opposition to the globalist plan. So this is so serious for our republic.
You're absolutely right, Alex. No, and here's the real truth. I agree with you. I think people are believing a complete conspiracy theory, thinking, oh, we're just going to win this election. Yeah, you're right. He is not invincible. He is a man. He's fighting as hard as possible. He's putting all he has into trying to win the election. But you also got to remember, he's at the same time he's trying to run for president again, he's having to put everything he has into defending himself against these rigged trials and this unbelievable perversion of our justice system. And the Democrats aren't sorry about it. They aren't going to back off of what they are doing. They literally want him dead. Benny Thompson introduced a bill to take away his Secret Service protection. That's how serious they are. They want President Trump dead. They want to lock him up in jail for the rest of his life so that he dies in jail. And they want to take away his Secret Service protection so that he is murdered somewhere in jail, possibly. This is how serious they are. Now, remember, here's something else, Alex. They told us we were going to win in 2020. That's what all the consultants said. Oh, we're going to win in 2020. And then they told us there's going to be a big red wave in 2022. That didn't happen. We had a trickle. We only won the House.
And if you remember, you and I were there warning people that that was not the case. And they said, you're buzzkills. You've got attitude problems. And I said, no. I said, we're going into the 79 days of hell because that's from the date of the election to the inauguration. And we put up a website, put it on the side of our armored vehicle when we drove around. And then it was 79 days of hell, wasn't it? And now it's been 3+ years of hell after.
Oh, yeah. And the people are feeling about it. And then here you have up there in Washington, D.C., they're saying, we don't want the drama. We don't want the chaos. But yet the American people are living in drama every day. The American people are living in chaos every single day. And the American people are sick of it. There's a whole new level of rage, Alex, and it looks like this. Republican voters are going all in for Trump, but they are done with the Republican Party. They are so done with the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, I fear after President Trump, there is no future Republican Party because our leaders have been Mitch McConnell, now Mike Johnson, who is literally the ultimate uniparty Speaker of the House. Our Republican leadership in Washington has not given anything for Republican voters to vote for. And that is why keeping Speaker Johnson in his seat for the rest of this term
Good.
is the most dangerous thing
Speaker
we can
Johnson
do if we care
right
about
the
winning the
fuck
House
now.
and having control in 2025.
Congresswoman, you know the
only
famous
way.
quote out of Teddy Roosevelt's Paris speech where he talked about the man or the woman in the arena, and you are the woman in the arena. Are your plans going to turn out perfect? No, but it's upsetting a status quo, and if a status quo is a sinking Titanic, well, then get in the lifeboat, even though that might not be a perfect option either. It's the only option is to start exposing the rhinos and to expand the MAGA beachhead in Congress. You're absolutely right. Justice be done, may the heavens fall. I mean, I can see the argument, oh, we only have one person majority now, and MTG is going to lose it again. And, oh, look, Mike Johnson's even worse than, the last guy. And I know you didn't at first. You didn't want to get rid of McCarthy at first. And now it looks like Johnson is way worse. It's just damned if you do, you don't. But justice be done, may the heavens fall. That's why I think your instincts are right on this. Even though you're being attacked by the entire system, your own party swimming upstream, the people are with you. And you're right. I've never seen such outrage since this bill passed, $95+ billion, none of it for America. You think they'd throw in, if they're giving $9 billion or $10 billion to Hamas, you think maybe America could get $10 billion, but no, we get nothing.
No, we get nothing. We get absolutely nothing. And to expect that will ever change is being foolish. It's gotten to the point where listening to Republicans out on the campaign trail, listening to them talk on television, people are so done. They're just like, it's lies. They don't believe them anymore because there's no accountability. Alex, there's no accountability. Yeah, you're right. Is it going to turn out perfect if I vacate Johnson? Probably not. Let's break that down. What does it look like? Right now, we have a 1-seat majority. We do. We have a 1-seat majority. We have 217 Republicans in the House. The Democrats have 213 Democrats in the House. There's 4 special elections about to happen throughout May and June. 4 of them. One of them, a Democrat is going to win. It's a Democrat seat. That'll bring in another Democrat. That brings the Democrats to 214. But 3 of these special elections are solid Republican seats, and Republicans are going to win. So that's going to bring our majority to 220. So we will have 220 Republicans. They will have 214 Democrats. And remember, we have 1 seat that will remain empty the rest of the term because Mike Gallagher is a traitor, and he left his district past the date where they could hold a special election.
Well, you're definitely doing the right thing here. Johnson makes my skin crawl just looking at him. He has the same kind of Patrick Bateman feel as Governor Newsom, and then I mean, people have Gaydar. I get Demon Gar. I have radar for these people, and he's always made my skin crawl. In closing, I interrupted you about Ukraine and the insanity over there and where all that's going.
Well, let's break that down. I think it's the most dangerous thing happening. Number one, our government is lying to the American people. If they have proof that Vladimir Putin and Russia is going to just steamroll across Ukraine, take Kiev, then go straight into Poland and march across Europe, they need to be producing that evidence to the American people because 70% of Americans are against funding that war. The only thing we should be talking about is peace and ending that war. That is exactly what should be happening. And we should be demanding that the Ukrainian people get to have elections again in their country.
Oh, yeah.
If we care about democracy, then those people deserve elections.
Very well said. In closing, thank you so much for time. We got about 2.5 minutes left. I don't want to write myself into the story, but it really is happening. I know you talked about it. I saw you post about it. What do you make of this CIA FBI operative, Gavin O'Blevis, admitting that I was targeted with PR firm setups, and then now we know that the head of the FBI in Connecticut initiated the suits, and a William Aldenberg and quarterbacked the whole thing. I mean, this is a deep state operation against me, which is illegal in America, in my view. What is your take on that? And can we have some more weaponization hearings and maybe drag these guys in before Congress?
Oh, I fully support you, Alex. You've been a top target for, my goodness, as long as I can remember. You have been the top target, and it's because you've always used your freedom of speech. That's your freedom of speech, and they've done everything they can to take it away from you. You have been a top target by the CIA, by the FBI, and if our Republican Judiciary Committee would do its job, they should be holding that hearing. I don't serve on Judiciary, but I think they should be holding that hearing and hauling these people in. The only way this will ever stop is until we turn our Republican Party into the party of accountability, the party of America first. And right now, that's not our party. Our party is dominated by uniparty members and uniparty control. And Alex, I can promise you this. I think it's time to totally change the party. We have to change it over. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yes. But everybody needs to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because I'm tired of the words without the action.
Well, that's right. Well, Trump now has control. Trump now has control of the RNC. You know, if Trump gets back in, why don't we just change it to the American Party and just get rid of the Republican Party altogether?
We should. It should be an American party. As a matter of fact, it should be an American government, but it's not. We have been taken over. Alex, I just want to tell everybody this before I go. We literally are living in this little bubble of time where people aren't suffering yet. They haven't fully gone broke. People are still able to enjoy their daily lives and their hobbies and their travel and their sports. They're still able to enjoy it. It's expensive. They've definitely gotten squeezed. They have a lot of credit card debt. They don't like the price of groceries, but the middle class can still continue this stuff. But we are just a short time away where that's going to be gone. And Alex, let me tell you something. That's when Americans are going to wake up and go, what the hell happened? What happened? Who did this to us? And that's when it's going to be too late. And that time is coming quick. I mean, it's coming quicker.
You're absolutely right. Incredible interview, MTG. So what I really want to ask you to do is pray for myself and the crew and my family. That's number one. I want that. I need that. It's your prayer that's doing it. That's why this surfaced. That's why this happened. I need the prayer. Then I need you to take the articles, the videos, the posts we make at Real Alex Jones, recopy them, share them, post them yourself, do whatever. Just get it out there. And I need you to go to InfoWarsStore.com, and I need you to get great products you already need. There's a bunch of sales going. DNA Force Plus is so good for your entire body. Flushes out your mitochondria and your cells with the PQQ, the CoQ10, the ELV ATP, the organic reishi, the astragalus membralis root, and even more for 50% off. Haven't done that in a while. That's amazing. Discover the power of triiodine, deep earth crystal iodine X3, 40% off. Body's ultimate turmeric formula, 40% off. And Turbo Force, 10-hour clean energy, is 40% off at InfoWarsStore.com. Turbo Force. We'll be right back. Well, I tell you, that was a really important interview with MTG. I mean, the first half of it, she was covering what happened with the horrible vote, the 95 plus billion, Ukraine, Israel, and Hamas. Nothing for America. It's just insane. Nothing for the border. But the second half was out of this world important. She is a really smart business lady. For people that don't know, self-made. I think it's worth like, first ever went to Congress, 40-something million bucks.
What are you talking about? Logbook. I
In
ain't
construction, running businesses herself.
This isn't a commercial load. This is a personal load. I'm home.
She knows how the world works. She's got her ear to the ground, and she talks to her constituents in Georgia and around the country, and the money's running out. And I know you know that. You're out there, you're experiencing it. But she's a public figure, so she gets more feedback than the average person. And the tyranny being put in place is going to be extremely hard to remove. If you think things are bad now, they get all this in place, they plan to do some really bad stuff on record. They've said they are. MSNBC, we're going to go after the Trump supporters once we destroy him. We're going to arrest all their leadership. We're going to re-educate them. This is war. That's a talking point. We need Homeland Security to target the Trump supporters. This is an exploitive, corrupt, hijacked government by very evil multinational interests. And this country has political, spiritual cancer. And there's a really good chance to turn things around. People are really waking up. Those that are already awakened are getting more hardcore. There's a lot of good people in government and corporations that are blocking what's happening and working with us. Our war is not with the U.S. government. It's with the criminals that have hijacked it.
Yes,
but you really can't overstate how bad they are.
Criminals who have hijacked it. Amen.
With decency and common sense, because that blocks their takeover. That's why they go out of their way to do the most horrible stuff they can. So there's so much evil going on, we get overwhelmed. So I wanted to air her little 5-minute, by little, it's a big speech, but little clip, only 5 minutes of her floor speech about this atrocity.
I'm not mad.
And then I'm going to shift gears into all the news. But I don't want to say I get lazy But there's so much news, I tend to try to get to a lot of it, so a lot of time only scratch the surface. Now, compared to other talk show hosts, it's a deep dive, and our guests do deep dives. But really what I cut my teeth on there 30 years, is deep dives. Because I was extremely attracted to science fiction, and I was a good reader by the time I was 6 years old. I was reading at a high school level. And then I discovered history. And then I discovered history is very varied. You've got to read a lot of history to really get what the history is, and then talk to people that were there as well when you have that opportunity. So I read, and I don't want to exaggerate, but I lost a lot of sleep. From the time I've been about 6, 7 years old till about 10 years ago. I don't read a lot of books now. Just I have so much information, read so much all day. I might read 6, 7 books a year. I usually just scan through other ones. But I used to read about 3 books a week. And I would get on JAGS. You know, I probably read, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 books on naval history and naval warfare. History books. It was very interesting. Going back to the booby pirates in the South China Sea, or the Greek or Peloponnesians, and then right up until Blackbeard and the Caribbean. And I probably read, let's not exaggerate, several encyclopedias on World War II and World War I. And I probably read 200 books on World War II. And then the interesting part about it, and I'm gonna do the deep dive next hour. I always say I'll do it later, and I'll start doing it. But my grandfather, his mother's side of the family were storied Texans, founders of the state, literal, you know, the detonators, you know, the Greshams and others, and Washington on the Brazos, the instigators, working with President Jackson years before to hatch the plan. Real conspirators, shipping shiploads of Bibles into Galveston, having shootouts with the Catholic priests. Yeah, but his father was only second-generation Germans, and his dad still spoke German, some German, and the grandparents did. In Dallas, they were wealthy, lived in the nicest area there, and were very successful. And so when I really started to get into World War II, and my grandfather had been in the Army Air Corps as well, both grandfathers, I started talking to my grandfather, who was extremely eccentric and extremely smart. And strangely enough, I'm a spitting image of him, basically. Except he had a cleft in his nose. And he told me quite a bit. And when I was 15 years old, hearing all this, it was just fantastical. But it wasn't BS. It was stuff he'd lived, the stuff I asked about. I asked him about the Nazis. And he told me about them. And he knew a lot about them. A lot. So I don't need to read it in a history book. I got it from my grandfather. And what the Nazis did to the German community in Dallas, who weren't Jews. My grandmother had blonde hair and big blue eyes. I mean, you looked at his facial structure. That's why they've done the AI on me. And they do all these famous figures. It's Hitler, and they do it with me, and it's like the same face. My grandfather basically kind of looked like Hitler. But the point is that he had firsthand experience with the Nazis. Firsthand. And not when he was in the military. I mean, that was another experience with them. They were all over Dallas, all in the German community, and he got a firsthand look at them. So I'm going to tell that story coming up next hour, and because it's important, because it affects the whole world and where we are today. And those that don't
I
know
didn't
history
know
are
there were
doomed to repeat
Nazis
it. And then we'll take, when I post this
residing in
later,
Dallas at that
Demand
time.
video and X, take my little breakdown here, and we'll tag that in there somewhere where it makes sense, because I'm not going to repeat all that, but I'll finish up with what my grandfather told me. And I told Kanye West some of that, when he was here, and he's just like, oh, your grandfather doesn't know anything. Oh, no, he just grew up in a house speaking German in Dallas. He doesn't know anything about it.
All right, I'm in Brownsville.
He didn't know anything about it. No, he knows a lot about it. He knew a lot about it.
Yes, sir.
So
I'm fitting to be there.
Deep dive on Hitler and the clash of civilizations and how they're doing it again, to explain to people that there are powerful dark forces that create the crises and then play us off against each other. The Hegelian dialectic. The German philosopher quantified it, but it had been used and was understood as beyond divide and conquer. And so I really want to have an adult discussion about this, because I put out a couple posts that went viral, tens of millions of views, when idiots were, let's just say ignorant people, were wishing Adolf Hitler a good birthday. And they went, oh, look, you got ratioed, you got trolled. No, I knew what was going to happen when I did that. I know how popular Adolf Hitler is.
Where did you pick up? Because it's not showing
In fact,
me the
they did an honest poll around the world today. Adolf Hitler is the most popular politician of the last 200 years. In Africa, in the Middle East, at liberal colleges, with white guys living out in the country, with army officers. Hitler is super popular. What, you don't think I don't know that? I didn't know. Oh, look, Alex got trolled. 3-1, everybody loves Hitler. No, you're the ones getting trolled. I'll explain it all to you coming up. Infowars.com. Tomorrow's news today. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live broadcasting worldwide. I said I would play that MTG clip, and I've had a bunch of other news that I'm going to mention before I cover it after I do the deep dive on World War I, World War II, the new clash of civilizations, World War III, what Hitler was really all about. But more importantly, why people see him as the anti-globalist today. Because people see things as black and white. They see things as good guy, bad guy. What, is Stalin good? No. That's just another tyranny. Lenin? I'll say tongue, but dictators are really the hot thing right now. There's whole groups
I'll let
that
you
love
come
Mao.
in first.
There's groups that love Xi Jinping. There's groups that lionize all of this. Why are they doing it? Because they don't like their current system that's bad. But boy, if you actually studied history or talked to folks that were there, you're asking to get out of the fire and be thrown in the inferno. Before I go any further, we are listener supported, and it's great to support the broadcast, but you really want these products. I mean, these are great products. They really work. They're the highest quality you're going to find out there anywhere. We either reformulate and make stuff better from top brands, or we just private label top brands. All right? It's that simple. All triple tested, the very best. Vitamin Mineral Fusion, sold out for 6 months or so, back in stock. All the key amino acids, all the critical vitamins and minerals. I got 57,
330 pounds,
Tastes great. Put it in a pitcher of water. One little scoop does a whole pitcher. Drink it for one person the last 2 or 3 days. For
yes,
family
sir.
a day. Your children, your husband, your wife. Everybody's getting what they need. But especially older folks don't have as good absorption in the gut. So pills don't really get absorbed very well. Liquid is a lot better. So Vitamin Mineral Fusion's back in stock for 40% off at InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. And we were supposed to change today, but we've been busy. We haven't gotten around to taking DNA Force Plus off sale for 50% off and Turbo Force for 40% off, clean 10-hour clean energy, but that will be removed. It's my fault. I was supposed to go to a marketing meeting this morning. I haven't been to one in like a month. I've just been so busy. Now I've got to come up with the new specials, and I'm the guy in charge of that mostly. So you can still get DNA Force Plus or Turbo Force for 50 and 40% off at InfoWarsStore.com. But Vitamin Mineral Fusion is the new sale. That'll be going for at least a few more weeks. InfoWarsStore.com. You can also get a copy of one of my 2 new books, The Great Reset and the War for the World, or The Great Awakening, the plan to defeat the globalists and launch the next great renaissance. Those are both signed or unsigned. There's fundraisers at InfoWarsStore.com. And then
you know what? I need to make sure to join one of his live broadcasts and request permission to be able to live stream his book.
Without even telling me. He went and got a warehouse. He already had a website. Dr. Joe's Naturals for years. Great products. And I set up a whole operation. And now he's a sponsor. And so it's there. It's actually, his warehouse is in Round Rock.
Come on.
Austin. And the products are all in stock, ready to ship to you right now. They are selling out of it very quickly, but I'm told more is coming soon. Super Blue, the original, not available for years, back with the nano silver, the iodine, the tea tree, all of it organic, the peppermint oil, no fillers, no fluoride. Super Blue at drjonesnaturals.com. 5-star ratings. That's drjonesnaturals.com, drjonesnaturals.com. I noticed it only has 10 reviews. We had one of the most respected review groups for a decade, Power Reviews, more than 15,000 reviews for Super Blue, but they said, you're Alex Jones. 2 years ago, we're taking your reviews away. Okay, great. Another nice thing you've done, people's personal testimonies and everything else, but it's 5 stars now. They just got it back in stock a few months ago, as you know, and it is Super Blue at drjonesnaturals.com and back in stock exclusively at drjonesnaturals.com. We had it over at InfoWars Store, but now it's only available at drjonesnaturals.com, and that is next level foundational energy with the B complex. Now that sounds okay. Methylfolate, what's that? Well, you know, Popeye is strong to the finish because he eats the spinach. He's Popeye the Sailor Man. Toot toot. What is in spinach? Folic acid. But most Europeans genetically cannot absorb folic acid well. But it doesn't matter if you're black. And most black folks have all 4 genes working on that. Every group has different things that are broken. That's what makes us different. But if you're a Northern European particularly, most Europeans cannot download folic acid. 3 of my 4 genes are broken on it. So I'm processing like 12% of it. Well, I process 100% of this. It's the breakdown of
folic
acid,
here?
Very high quality organic version of it. Next level foundational energy at drjonesnaturals.com.
Oh shit, we gotta turn right.
It doesn't have an amphetamine effect like coffee or green tea. It doesn't stimulate cells that way. It stimulates them by flushing everything out and giving them pure, clean energy. It is next level foundational energy. drjonesnaturals.com. Be sure to check out the other great products while you're there, and I thank you all for your support. Okay, we're already went late on this with MTG. I'm going to air MTG. It's about 5.5 minutes long in the first little short segment next hour because I promised to and I wanted to. And then I'm going to do my best to be concise.
Pull over.
And just point people in directions to do your own research into World War I, World War II. And it's hard to briefly describe it. But compared to the other critiques you see out there, it is deep. People just have really no large-scale historical understanding of the Austro-Hungarian Empire or the British Empire or the different forces at work or the First German Republic and von Bismarck and then the Versailles Treaty and then the Weimar Republic and or the SA versus the SS and the Night of the Long Knives and what the Nazis were really like. And I know they got fancy uniforms and drive around in fancy Mercedes and built big, beautiful buildings, and we're obsessed with architecture and all the rest of that. Well, I mean, you see that translated into Star Wars and how the Empire's got cool-looking ships and uniforms, and Darth Vader looks really cool, doesn't he? But the point is that image you see projected is the classic signature of death. And they wore skulls on their hats. Might give you a little news flash that they're here to bring death. And people go, well, Churchill was corrupt and the West was bad. And, even more evil than Hitler in their master planning, but not in what they did. And so, yeah, I know all about Hitler having a secret peace treaty with England that's admitted. I know all about Rudolf Hess. I know all about all of that. And the point is that we don't want to go down the same road where the globalists have a clash of civilizations again. We want to be aware that they're running a very similar playbook again in the year 2024. And at the end of it, it'll be people like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Saxe-Coburg Gothas and others that'll get all the money and power by financing both sides. Just as the big banks funded Lenin and Stalin and Hitler. They build up the best enemies money can buy, just like the globalist opened up China, put in Xi Jinping, set it all up. Before that, Mao Zedong. Now the Chi-Coms have broken with them. So there's also all this double dealing that goes on, but that's the Machiavellian complexity of all this. But if you really pull back and really study Hitler, the guy was a lunatic, occultist maniac and was on an incredible power trip. I mean, look, anybody that's a man can run around and act powerful and affect power and make all those faces and do all that stuff, okay? People weren't sophisticated 80, 90 years ago. They're watching newsreels. It looked good to the Germans. They felt weak. They've been through a lot. But guys running around in Hugo Boss uniforms and skulls on their hats, acting tough and sinister is Luciferian. And it's just not good. And again, anybody could sit there who's a man and act like that. I mean, because it's an affectation of what you see when a man's killing you because he has to protect his family. It looks a lot scarier than Hitler. I get mean and angry. I could show you really scary looking faces here. You go, gosh, that's even scarier than Hitler. Yeah, I could look a lot scarier than Gavin Newsom too. The point is I choose not to, because that is a spirit of pride and a spirit of Lucifer. And it's the occult, and the Nazis were into the occult. They had a plan to ban Christianity. It's super bad stuff, folks. And I do not believe the Nazis are the most evil thing, by the way. I see the backlash of Hollywood and then by extension, the Nazis are the bad guys, so all white people are bad guys. The new Civil War movie, the white people are the bad people. It's very, very clear. And they go kill the president, that's Trump. I get the backlash, but that is a backlash being designed just like the Treaty of Versailles was meant to crush and demoralize and abuse the Germans so they would accept their savior, Adolf Alois Hitler. So we're going to talk about it all next hour, straight ahead. Oh, the big forbidden Adolf Hitler, the bad boy. So many people's secret god will be thrown down. Stay with us.
I gotta grab my phone charger while we're sitting here.
The products at InfoWarsStore.com just because it keeps us on the air. You should get these products because they are game-changing.
Oh, hey, tablet. I miss you.
Accurate intel on the planet.
I forgot.
Our products are absolutely.
I forgot about the tablet.
They
okay.
Are amazing. They are the missing links people need, and of all the deficiencies that are out there, one of the biggest problems.
I have to be honest. That is man enough. What do you mean?
Just look up iodine deficiency on Wikipedia. More than 2 billion people, the UN estimates, have major cognitive disabilities because they haven't had iodine. It is essential in all electrochemical activity of the body, but most iodine in plants or in meat is bound to other compounds or other elements, so you don't get the full absorption. Not with X3. It has all 3 of the healthy types of iodine in it, the good halogens, the deep earth crystal, pure nascent iodine, and then 2 other types the scientists tell us help with absorption.
It's I don't take tablets.
6 months. It's now back in stock for 40% off at InfoWarsStore.com, and it funds the broadcast and everything else we do. So I want to encourage you all to get your X3 for 40% off now at InfoWarsStore.com. It takes about 2 weeks to kick in.
Out of water too?
Everybody has incredible results. Separately, we have another great product.
I gotta go grab bottled water.
Clean Energy Turbo Force, available discounted.
Funboy, activate.
InfoWarsStore.com as well. It's discounted as well, despite the fact we're about to sell out. So whether it's X3, next level iodine, or whether it's Turbo Force, 10-hour clean energy, they're both available, discounted right now at InfoWarsStore.com. It funds the broadcast and it's game-changing. Take action now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My amendment today would drive the bill for Ukraine. Take each dollar amount in this act is hereby reduced to 0. You see, the United States taxpayer has already sent $113 billion to Ukraine, and a lot of that money is unaccounted for. This is a continuance of a sick business model that the American government continues. The federal government continues to fund the military-industrial complex. This is a business model that requires Congress to continue to vote for money, to continue to fund foreign wars, and this is a business model the American people do not support. They don't support a business model built on blood and murder and war in foreign countries, while this very government does nothing to secure our border. The American people are over $34 trillion in debt, and the debt is rising by over $40 billion every single night while we all sleep. But yet nothing is done to secure our border or reduce our debt. Inflation has driven out of control. Americans are suffering every single day. They can hardly afford their grocery bills. They can hardly afford gas in their car. They can hardly afford rent. And now mortgage payments are well over $3,000, where they were only just over $1,700 3 years ago. The youngest generation, young adults, don't even think they're going to be able to buy a home in their lifetime. And today in Congress, the most important thing that this body thinks should be done is to send another $61 billion to a war in Ukraine that the American people by 70% do not support. Mind you, this comes on the very heels of Monday being April 15th, tax day, where every single American had to scrounge up their money and send their dollars in to the IRS. Or some of them had to file extensions because they weren't ready and didn't have the money to pay their taxes. But today, this body says the most important thing we can do, no, is not reduce spending. That's not it. Not to do anything to drive down inflation. Oh no, we can't do that for the American people. It's not to secure our own border that is invaded every single day, by people from over 160 different countries. No, don't secure the American border. Let everyone in. We have over 1.8 million known gotaways. We don't know who these people are. And yet you have members of this body talking big and tough about, oh, we have to defeat Russia. Oh, we have to protect Ukraine. But yet all of you are unwilling to protect
all of you
the
forget
American
the fact that we
citizens
just
that pay
simply
your paycheck, pay the light bills in this building, and pay for this entire federal government. For what? For nothing. Ukraine is not even a member of NATO. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, but the most important thing you hear in Washington, D.C. is, oh, we have to spend Americans' hard-earned tax dollars over to Ukraine and keep the money going to continue to murder Ukrainians, wipe out an entire generation of Ukrainian men so that there are widows, there are fatherless orphans, there are not enough men to work in their industries. Oh, but you really support Ukraine. Wow, what kind of support is that? It's repulsive. You know, shame on the American government. Shame on the American government. If we support our military, support our military. We should be funding to build up our weapons and ammunition, not to send it over to foreign countries to kill foreign peoples. And if this body was worth what it claims to be, what it is, every single one of us would be demanding peace in Ukraine between these countries, peace for these people, so that no more of them have to die. But you never hear anybody demanding peace. No, 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 no. Peace is the last thing Washington wants because it doesn't fit the business model. This is a business model that they say continues our economy, protects American jobs. What a disgusting business model. We should have a business model that builds up our American companies and American jobs to serve American interests, and our military and our government should care about protecting the national security of the United States of America and the Americans that pay their hard-earned tax dollars to fund all of this. America last. America last. That's all this is. Every single day, America last.
Gentlewoman's time has expired.
Not even just America last, but humanity last.
are doomed to repeat it. And if you look at the European wars that went on in the last 1,000 years, look at the Napoleonic Wars, 205 years ago ending, 210 years ago ending. You look at World War I, you look at the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, you look at the Versailles Treaty and Hitler and all the things that came out of that. The entire 20th century and the 21st century was based on the new political orders that came out of that war, and the UN being established in the name of stopping global conflict, global government. And you have people that reject the Western New World Order globalist model, which I know I certainly do, who study the history of it and understand who the different interests are, and understand that it's a transhumanist, post-humanist, hyper-eugenics scientific project of life extension and of creating a new species and becoming the Ubermensch that Friedrich Nietzsche talked about. So you have to know the different competing ideals and philosophies going into World War I, going into World War II, the competing forces that were involved. And it's true that Britain was heavily threatened by the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Germany was just one piece of that. And that they had surpassed America with inventions and technology and were taking over the world through business, not through military conquest. And so the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, on the eve of World War I, was assassinated, shot and hand grenaded while driving in a motorcade. And the war began in earnest. And then the Austrian-Hungarian Empire was broken up. Large pieces of it were given to Poland and France and many others. And those were the complaints of the Germans, and taxes were put on them and an incredible inflation. And they were in a depression much deeper than the depression we even saw in the United States. And out of that angrier world came the National Socialist Workers' Party that Hitler was a young member of, and that it was declassified after World War II that the British intelligence had been spying on and funding, not thinking it would take over later, but just to whatever group took over, they intended to basically be in the driver's seat with. So British intelligence didn't control the Nazis, but they were there from their inception. And if you want to actually study the history of that, it's there. And then as Germany builds up, and as Germany turns its economy around from 1933 until about 1939, Time magazine and the New York Times, Hitler, man of the year, multiple times, and he's a genius and he's great, and Henry Ford funding him, and Thomas Watson of IBM, and it was on the local radio stations around the country, and Hitler was a great guy, and he was the answer to everything. And Neville Chamberlain and the British said, yes, what was taken from Germany and the Austrian-Hungarian Empire was wrong, and so maybe you should take back all these countries. So it was Germany's job, Hitler believed, to recreate that empire, take over the rest of Europe, and establish a European Union, which, if you look up, Hitler invented the idea of the European Union, the Volkswagen.
Yeah, there's a bomb mile marker 168.
He drew the Olympic symbol.
He left.
I mean, yeah, a lot of design going on here. The modern Autobahn system that Eisenhower, when he was president,
you missed
picked
the
up
exit
from the
there,
Germans
bud.
and built our highway system. So there's no doubt that was going on. When people say, no, Hitler did these innovations,
oh,
you love Hitler. No, I mean, it's like saying communist China has been able to create 10% growth rates and industrialize and take over rare earth mineral production worldwide, 98% of it, and do amazing things. But I don't support Xi Jinping. So the Germans had been demoralized. They'd been put down. They'd been in decades of control and poverty. And then along comes this low-level corporal and World War I hero, Iron Cross First Class, Congressional Medal of Honor, the Germans Congressional Medal of Honor, as a message runner in World War I, who would volunteer to run through the enemy lines while they were being nerve gassed, all the rest of it. Just being honest about Hitler. He was a German war hero. Hitler rapidly ascends in the Nazi party, and they have a beer putsch where they try to occupy the Reichstag, and then he gets put in jail a few years, and he writes Mein Kampf. I mean, I know the whole history forwards and backwards. It's fascinating. Read hundreds of books on it, multiple encyclopedias. I understood it was an important piece of history. And then Hollywood and the Western establishment then pushed American hegemony, and America being the hero of World War II. When America was a part of it, I'm not lessening both my grandfathers in it, the Army Air Corps, but 80% of the casualties or more were between the Germans and the Russians. 26 million Russians, 22 to 24 million Germans. I mean, this was a Russian-German slugfest. And then the United States and others came in on the edges of it for the final victory. And we still lost 700, 800,000 troops. You can look it up. So you have Hollywood then, by extension, with thousands of movies about Nazis constantly, and then now attaching that to America and now saying conservatives are all Nazis and racist, and we've been hearing this for 30 years. People go, well, I'm not a Nazi, so if you're calling Hitler bad and you're calling me a Nazi, well, he must not be bad because I know I'm not bad. And so it becomes a thing to basically troll the left, is to go ahead and say, here's Hitler, what do you think of that? My issue with Hitler is this. They definitely were obsessed with design and pageantry and nighttime rallies and architecture and scary-looking uniforms. And they took over an Austrian-Hungarian empire that had a huge militaristic
history. Oh my God, Thriller, what did you do?
And
there's no stopping.
Hess, the German
there was
deputy
nothing
Führer,
I could do.
did have with Edward VIII, the King of England, a peace treaty. Edward VIII, you type in Edward VIII or King of England with Hitler. There's all the photos. He was actually German himself and was in Germany when World War II started, was in Spain a lot of the war. They say he advocated the throne because he was married to an American woman. No, it was because he was a Nazi. He was going to be the EU king. Hitler thought that the Brits, read his writings, were the most superior Aryans of anybody. He didn't want to bomb England because he didn't want to kill any Aryan stock. So when people say, oh, England started at England double-crossed Germany, well, England started World War I. It was the dominant empire, British Empire. But Hitler walked right into the trap, is the point. And so, yeah, Rudolf Hess did fly over on an airplane and bail out and drop down into the palace and with the treaty and say, how dare you do all this? We need to stop all this. And they locked him up in the Tower for the rest of his life. The Tower of London. So, yeah, all that's there. But when I posted to troll people, because I was planning to do this show this week, I've been saying for a while I would. When I posted on X, and we'll show it from X here, we can pull that up, please. Saturday on Hitler's birthday, this post right here, I saw it already had millions of views, and it says Hitler's birthday on 24 photo collection thread. And I said, happy birthday to a man who got 24 million Germans killed, also launched a world war that killed another 80 million people. Just because our rulers are evil does not mean Hitler was good. F. Adolf Hitler. And I knew that from the corners of X and elsewhere, the Hitler worshippers would come streaming out and it would get tens of millions of views, which this post got 7.4 million views. Derivatives of it, another 10 million that I even saw, and I wasn't looking. So 17 million views. And it did what I wanted. They're like, oh, you just got trolled. You just got ratioed. No, I just opened up this discussion. So then last night I trolled them with this, and it's got millions of views, where folks take myself and do with a bunch of leaders, from Trump to Putin to you name it, to Barack Obama. It's funny. And they put a Hitler mustache and hair on them, and that really trolls the Nazis because Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, if you superimpose my face when I was a little thinner over Hitler's, you get basically a very close match. Because my grandfather, if you looked at him, he had black hair. It looked like Adolf Hitler. That's just a classic German face. But the point is that I did that to troll them as well, because I want to have a discussion about this. The world of Adolf Hitler, 80 plus years ago when he died, or 80 years ago, and 100 years ago when he shows up on the scene, doesn't exist today. But ripples in the pond from the stone do. And so just like in North Korea or China, they love giant military parades. It makes the public feel powerful to see their men out there doing all of this. You have to understand that it's not a debatable fact in history. And that Hermann Goering and Admiral Dönitz and all the rest of them at the Nuremberg trial in 46, 47, their defense was, we were funded by IBM. We were funded by the West. We had peace treaties. This all came out in the hearings. It's all public. Read books on it. Read the transcript. And we were doing what you were doing and what you were planning. We just had our competing program. And why are you mad at us? We were just following orders. And of course, they went and hung them. But the rest of them poisoned themselves with cyanide in their cells. So, what really blew me away, though, and I'll admit, I spent hours I don't have, it's so fascinating, very entertaining in a sick way, reading, scanning. Oh, I probably read 500 comments, and I stopped right there because there's tens of thousands. And a lot of people are smart, a lot of people are making good points, but I saw other comments in there like, how dare you lie about Hitler? He was attacked first and offered peace. No, it's not debated that Hitler invaded and took large pieces of other countries that had been part of Germany before in the Austrian Empire, and then he just said, I'll take Poland and I'll take Austria, and they went and killed the president of Austria, shot him, and sent troops in to Vienna. And I'm going to go ahead and invade France now. And then ran the British troops into the ocean at Dunkirk. And of course, Churchill admitted that he was extremely excited about this because he'd been waiting in the wings. And what do you know about Winston Churchill? Have you read all three of his books, History of the English-Speaking People? I have. By the time I was 15, read it again when I was 25. Have you read his newspaper dispatches from the Boer War in South Africa? Do you know anything about Winston Churchill? Who was like third in line to the throne of England. No, you don't know about him. Those out there that claim they know the history. So you go, oh, Britain manipulated. Yeah, that's all true. But it doesn't change the fact that people are lionizing Hitler because they repudiate CNN and ABC News and the New York Times and the ADL. Well, they're repudiated by their bad, evil actions. So I'm going to explain it this way. You could go to a bug poison shop, an exterminator place. You know, they have those wholesale places. I've been in them. Only did it a few months. I didn't like it. I got sick doing it. But I did some work one summer doing exterminating, and you'd go to the wholesale supply and buy it and put it in a big vat tank on the back of the truck to go kill termites. Be crawling around these houses killing termites. But if you go to one of those poison supply stores, they got 50 different types of poison. Well, how about we don't take any of it? See, just because the New World Order and the pedophile left and the ADL are race baiting and creating division of control because it works, Hitler knew that. That's one bag of poison. And then over here, you can dust it off and, oh, here's World War II. Here's a Nazi bag of poison. See, if a restaurant's a really bad place to eat, you get food poisoning at, you don't go order the enchiladas or the hamburger there or the pork chop. So what I'm saying is there's this idea that if you actually know about Hitler and know about World War II, and he's an amateur to Xi Jinping, then you would understand that it's totalitarianism. Now, there's many ways to talk about Hitler. And what people need to know is that Hitler's original Nazi party wanted to ban Christianity and was an occultic animist religion that was going to try to return to the Norse ways. And they want to even get rid of the alphabet and go to the Norse runes. I'm not saying that's bad. It's amazing culture, but that's what they wanted to go with. And later they made an alliance with the Catholic Church and the rest of it. But at first they were taking control of that whole system. And if you look at the Nazis' rise to power with Ernst Röhm and the SA, the reason they were into fashion and the uniforms and all of it is that it was the Nazis were like any corrupt, crazy, power-seeking group, because who really wants power but weirdos? They were heavy into homosexuality, heavy into pedophilia, and the German military, when Hitler got elected, would not work with the SA, the brown shirts, Hitler's street battlers that he'd been with for over a decade. He then betrayed them all on the night of the Long Knives and killed them all. And even in the German ledgers that they had at Nuremberg, the Germans testified it was all accurate. They had Hermann Goering, war hero, but an absolutely voracious homosexual, dueling scar on his cheek, whole 9 yards. Got to pull up Nazi Ernst Röhm. When he's in the jail cell and the SS come to kill him, he goes, "I don't care. If Hitler wants to kill me, he's God. Heil Hitler." I mean, what a cult, folks. What a cult. And then Hitler was jealous of other generals later, after they'd exterminated all those guys, and had Erwin Rommel killed, or made him take cyanide, or he killed his whole family. I mean, and the Nazis would run around. If you've seen Remains of the Day, because I've read the real history and also talked to people that saw stuff like this, the British lord who fought in World War I felt bad for Germans, so he invited the Nazis in the 30s to his house. And it's a fiction movie, but it's based on stuff that happened. And while he's out of the room, they're like, when we take over, that painting, that painting, that painting. They were literally pirates obsessed with loot.
What?
Now, that's not just in a Hollywood movie. My grandfather, on his mother's side, were storied Texans, the very founders of the state. Like, amazing. Raised Colonel Travis's son, initiated Washington Nebraska's action, all of it. But she married a second-generation German, and they still spoke German in Dallas. He was really good looking and really rich. Most fabulous area of Dallas, big mansion, whole 9 yards. And on the biggest car dealership in Dallas, you name it. Really successful people. And at home, they wore lederhosen. I mean, I've seen the photos. I had to dig them out. My grandfather and his sister, in German outfits at their house in Dallas when they're 3 years old, 4 years old. So my grandfather, I never really talked about this, and he was pro-America, Army Air Corps, all that. But after I learned all this when I was a teenager, I went over there because I'd since moved to Austin last year as a high school, and I'd visit him almost every Sunday for Sunday dinner, and I go to church with him sometimes too. My grandfather didn't talk a lot, but boy, he talked. And I said, "Hey, I've learned all this." And he said, "Yeah, it's absolutely true." He said, when we grew up in Dallas, we lived next door to the inventor of, or one of the major patent holders on refrigeration, who had been born in Germany, but had moved here, and it was their neighbor down the street. And my grandfather, from the time I was a little kid, because the Germans were it was a big section that were German, he would go over there and see the invention shop, and my grandfather later became an inventor, was successful, sold some stuff at the Pentagon, and early combat robot in the 60s, but remote control, radio control, but that's a side issue. It's classified, wouldn't tell me the details. But my mother remembers coming home from college and seeing, going to the warehouse, seeing the robots, but crowd control robot. But he talked about this rich German American who's German, not Jewish. Oh, Hitler just attacked the Jews, which is bad enough. And my grandfather said that the reason he went and joined the military, even though he was at UT in college, roommates with Tom Landry, best friends. I was a kid, every once in a while visit, like Tom Landry pull up in the car and come in and like go in the office for an hour praying. Not bragging, it's just weird history. And he looked just like the Tom Landry you see, the hat, the suit, the whole 9 yards. Like 8 years old, here comes Tom Landry. Only saw it once, but they talked every week and prayed. In fact, if I got to their house early on Sundays, he'd say, excuse me, you go in the room for 30 minutes and pray with Tom Landry. Just a weird story. Those are real Christians. And my grandfather said that by about 1938, the Germans, the Nazis, had threatened to kill all of his family in Germany if he didn't give them all the money he had. And the guy had basically sold everything, the equivalent of billions today. And my grandfather implied committed suicide. And my grandfather really liked this guy. And so that was the last straw for my grandfather to get off the UT football team, because he could have got a deferment, whatever, and him and Tom Landry go and join the Army Air Corps together. So that's the reality here, ladies and gentlemen.
They're not functioning properly.
My grandfather is a German, good-looking, blonde-haired, blue eyes, in a rich area of Dallas with a bunch of rich Germans. And he is witnessing, and it wasn't just that. So then, obviously,
pulling out a location.
He gets in World War II approached and to look into what the Germans are up to. And he does it. And he didn't tell me about it, but he told his son, who also went into intelligence, and he told me about a lot of it. But we almost lost the country to Nazis, and they had the McCormick-Dickstein Committee hearings on it. My film Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, starts with those hearings, and Smedley Butler, the most decorated Marine Corps general, and they wanted to be the Commandant of the Marine Corps, multiple Congressional Medal of Honor winner, they tried to hire him, the Bushes, with the Nazis, to overthrow the U.S. government. And I didn't know about that till 25 years ago and made films about it. And I made a film about 17 years ago, the big one. But I was hearing all that from my uncle, who my grandfather told him about it. And it just gets wilder from there. So I have firsthand.
DNA Force Plus from InfoWarsStore.com is the perfect formula to help you support optimal energy levels while adapting your body to handle the daily bombardment of toxins. And that's why DNA Force Plus has exactly what you need to provide your cells with protection. The powerhouse ingredients in DNA Force Plus include LFATP, PQQ, CoQ10, and so many other incredible ingredients combined with a bioavailable herbal blend to make sure you are maximizing your absorption.
Oh damn!
By the way, there's never been a better time to buy DNA Force Plus. Like I said, it's probably our most powerful product. It's also our most expensive, because getting these ingredients in the amounts that are in DNA Force Plus is incredibly difficult. This stuff sells out at full price. You can get it right now for 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com. That's DNA Force Plus, our most powerful product, 50% off for a limited time at InfoWarsStore.com. I'm telling you, it sells out at full price. You got to act now to get it at 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com.
So, my grandfather was deep in the German community in Texas. My mother and uncle remember when Werner von Braun was visiting Austin, they went and saw him when they were little kids. So I've only got pieces of this, and he didn't tell my mother a lot. He told my uncle a lot once he became a man about some of the stuff, and I wish I would have pried more into it. But My grandfather said that the Nazis were absolutely horrible people. And he was a German American, and a loyal American. But he told me, when I was asking him about this, we talked about it 15, 20 times, wouldn't say a lot. He just said, man, I wish he was still alive. God, I wish what I know now I knew then. He said, listen, you gotta understand, because there's a lot of Germans in Texas, for those that don't know. It's like the second biggest group after the Scots. Texas was mainly founded by Scots, and then English, Irish, but the Germans were more than the Irish or the English in the first big waves, and the more waves that came in. And I remember him saying, listen, we thought Hitler was good. He goes, when I was in junior high, because Hitler got in 33 and then high school, they were airing his speeches in German on WBAP. And that's true, because Time magazine was saying Hitler was a savior until 1939. He won Time magazine Man of the Year twice, back when it meant something. He was on the cover of gardening magazines. The Germans were all proud of Hitler. But again, he apprenticed. That's how things were in the old times. You would work with other people. He worked from the time he was like 10, 11, 12. Down the street, he described it. The whole area in the middle of Dallas is around a big park, and it's where all the Bushes live, all them now. But he had a huge laboratory, Tesla type guy. And I can't remember his name. I'm a teenager. My grandfather's telling me about all this. And this guy was German. And he wasn't even against Hitler, but he had a bunch of family in Germany, and they threatened to kill him. And they sucked every bit of money out of him, and my grandfather saw that. So he said by the time he was in high school, and the Bund was really big. They had Madison Square Garden rallies, and they had rallies in Dallas with 50,000 Germans in Nazi uniforms. And my grandfather never got in the Bund, but he said, I went to a few of the Bund meetings. And I'm sitting around the kitchen table while he's drinking iced tea. He starts getting tears in his eyes. This is when he's a teenager. So my grandfather's going to Nazi rallies in Dallas, Texas. And then he starts learning about the inventor and how they're robbing him. And the old man's breaking down, crying to him, my grandfather said. So my grandfather went and joined the Army Air Corps. Once World War II started, he was already at UT playing football and won the track championship, and all that. My mom still got the medals, first place for the hurdles and all that stuff. The point is he was a great guy. And imagine to him, he said the identity of it, like he was brought to be proud, because he was very proud of his Texas